Hi everyone, my name is Courtney and welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to be doing my October wrap-up. I'm feeling very cozy. It's like 60 degrees outside, which for Southern California is as close as we're gonna get to fall. So I got a sweater on, and you know, coming from living in New York for a year, I feel ridiculous wearing a sweater and being cold, but like I gotta get what I can get, you know? But today we are going to discuss all the books that I read in October, and we will be starting out with the manga. So this month I read Welcome to the Ballroom, Volume 6, Volume 7, which I do not own because it is impossible to get physically. I'm on a waiting list on Penguin's actual website, hoping that it gets like a reprint or just like they find a copy or something, I don't know. But it's completely back-ordered, back-stock, like you cannot get this. Nobody is selling it because it's not a super popular series. You know, there's not even somebody selling it for like $70. Like, you know, it's like hard, impossible to get. But anyway, I did read it online. I got volume 8, and then I also read volume 9. So I am quickly catching up to where the series has ended printing. I believe there's 12 volumes out in Japan right now, and the 11th volume recently came out in English. And one of my end of the year goals was to read volume 10 and 11 to fully catch up on the series, so I'm really excited to do that. The 10th and 11th volume are going to be finishing up this arc, which happens to be the final arc that you see in the anime. The creator has been on and off hiatus with health issues for a really long time, and you know, I'm hoping to pray that she is in good health and that she wants to and is able to finish this manga, because I care so deeply about the characters and the story, and it feels like there's so much story to go, but we will see. I am excited to get through these volumes and read a little online, because honestly, as much as I'm loving this read, as much as I'm loving reading it physically for the first time, I'm really excited to get into new content that I've never seen before through the anime. But if you don't know, Welcome to the Ballroom is a sports anime about ballroom dancing, and I think it's a really well balanced. It has comedy, it has drama, it has really great characters and character development and character arcs. And it talks about the sport enough that you understand why it's meaningful, the decisions and things that happen to the characters. There's a little bit of fan service in this series, which is the only critique I have of it, but overall I've really been enjoying my read, and these 4 volumes were so fun to read, and I do plan on finishing or catching up to the series next month. So the next 2 books I have that I read this month are The Witch Boy by Molly Ostertag. This is a middle grade graphic novel all about a young boy who lives in a family of witches and shapeshifters, and as a boy he is expected to be a shapeshifter, but he feels more inclined to be a witch. It was really cute, and I read this for a special reading vlog, which will hopefully come out sometime in November, so stay tuned for that. And with that reading vlog, I was also reading The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake, and this is an adult fantasy novel, the first book in a trilogy, I believe, and it's all about the secret society that is under the Alexandria Library, and it follows these 6 characters as they're led to be initiates of the library itself. And this was a really interesting book. Again, I'm doing a reading vlog on this, so I talk a lot more about my thoughts, opinions on this book. I liked it. I give it a 3.75 stars. It's hard because I really enjoyed reading it, and I really enjoyed the characters and just like watching them make decisions and think things, but I did want more, or certain things I wanted more of in this book. But again, look out for that reading vlog to hear more of my thoughts and opinions on this. I'm also intrigued why this book was so popular on TikTok and BookTube. BookTube, it makes sense, but TikTok, it makes less sense for me. I don't know, it just doesn't seem like the typical thing that would spark a TikTok audience. But I enjoyed it. It was really, really interesting, and I'm excited to read the second book. The next book I have is Grey Warren by Maggie Stiefvater. This again is going to be a very brief thing because I already have a video of this book. I have a whole entire review of this, but basically this is the 3rd and final book in the Dreamer trilogy, which is a spin-off of the Raven Boys, and this series follows Ronan and other dreamers, or people that have the ability to take things out of their dreams. It's a little bit darker than the Raven Boys, but I really enjoyed it overall. Not maybe as much as the Raven Boys, but I still really enjoyed it. These books are really slow paced, really character focused, and you're just really dialed into what the characters are thinking and feeling. And I just really loved that experience, and especially this last book, I really enjoyed. I gave a full 5 stars to. I don't know, just sitting down and slowly reading this book and just being so attached to the characters. I have a really hard time attaching myself to characters in books recently, so I really enjoyed this. And yeah, I just love Ronan, I loved the ending, and this just really worked for me. And finally, this is actually one of the first books I read this month, but it's the only one that I don't have other content for, so I think I can talk about it a little bit longer. And that would be Iron Widow by Zhao, who is a YouTuber. They kind of got their start on YouTube. Like, they were writing this book already. They just wanted to make a one-off YouTube video about Mulan. Just got really popular on YouTube, and they were catapulted into stardom, at least on the analyzing critique essay sphere of YouTube. I watched their first video, I fell in love. I'm so glad that they're continuing to make content. I've really been enjoying like their fun videos. I especially enjoyed their project that they worked with a bunch of people on, talking about Raya and the Last Dragon. That was really interesting. So I was coming into this book really enjoying the author, and so I don't want to say I'm biased, but maybe a little bit, but I ended up giving this book a 3.75 stars, and this book is like a sci-fi fantasy book. It's like a cross between like almost a dystopian ancient Chinese world as well as like a high-tech sci-fi fantasy world. It definitely has a very unique atmosphere and really unique dichotomy between like callbacks to ancient China or medieval China, I think, as well as like new mech style kind of fantasy and sci-fi. But this book, Iron Widow, is set in that world. It's the first book in a YA series, and it's following this young girl who decides to take revenge, who was a consort. And in this world, these young girls that elect to be consorts are not only just like consorts of these random people, these random men, you know, they're not just like the regular kind of concubine consort kind of thing that you think of. They are also like pilots of these giant mech creatures. So when you become a consort, you basically are like the second pilot in this mech suit, and you kind of act as like a battery to the mech suit. The girls normally die, and the male pilots normally don't. So there is a lot of talk about gender roles and power, and basically our main character is sacrificing herself so that she can kill one of these pilots. And that's kind of where the book jumps off. It slowly opens up to more characters and the world itself and her ambition for power outside of her revenge. I do want to make a review of this because I do have a lot of thoughts. I gave it a 3.75 stars, but overall I will say I was intrigued by the world. Some of it was really confusing. Some of it I felt like I was not getting enough information to understand, both like the world itself and just like the world building, the fantasy, the magic kind of stuff. Like this book probably could have been a lot chunkier. I think I've heard that it said that this book was really streamlined, and I feel like I could tell. A lot of the book, it felt like we were just going from scene to scene to scene without a lot of the information or narration in between those scenes to really make the full story come together, and it did feel like things were missing. But overall, those scenes that we were getting, I was really enjoying. Like, I really liked the character, the main character. I really like her two love interests. I really like their whole triangle thing. It is a woman male relationship. Like, it is a full-on polyamorous relationship, what I really enjoyed. You know, this world is interesting, these characters are really interesting, their dynamics are really interesting, but it did feel like a lot of times it was just scene to scene to scene, and we weren't getting like the in-between stuff to really hold the entire story together, if that makes sense. Again, I do want to do a review of this because I have a lot of conflicting thoughts and opinions, but overall, I enjoyed this. I just did feel like things were missing, but I am excited for the second book in the series. So yeah, this ended up being a really quick video. You know, I didn't read a ton, but also I have other videos that are referencing or talking about these, so I don't want to give all my thoughts and feelings and opinions here, because you can just go and watch all these other videos where I discuss in the moment opinions and reviews. I really enjoyed my reading this month. I really tried to take a step back and physically read a lot of stuff. Like, I physically read Grey Warren, I physically read the Atlas 6, and obviously the comics and manga I read physically, and that just really helped with my reading experience. It slowed me down in reading, but it also, I really do feel like I was able to connect more with the story and the characters by doing that, and it was just a really good move on my part. So I have to continue to do that moving forward and use audiobooks a little less occasionally, although I do love them. I think I have to be a little more selective in my audiobook reading because, as I've said a lot, audiobooks, especially during COVID when my mind was just all over the place and having major brain fog, at the beginning of COVID, this was like the only way that I could physically read and not get distracted. As much as it's been a great tool, it's also been a crutch, and I've just used it too much to the point where I'm having a hard time am really loving and connecting to books. So I want to try and use it a little more sparingly and actually physically read the books because it does seem to help my reading. Not everybody is like that. Obviously, some people only read through audiobooks and there's no one good way to read a book. I don't believe audiobooks are a bad way of reading, or, you're not as in tune with the book if you're reading through audiobook. That's just my own personal problem. But yes, I enjoyed my reading. I had a really good reading month, really good spooky reading, and I'm really excited for the video that I'm currently working on that the Atlas 6 and the Witch Boy are included in. So do stay tuned for that because I really like how that video is turning out. But thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys later and happy reading.